Hello and welcome to the very first Quarantine Coloring with Maddie Carr. I'm Maddie Carr, and thank you for joining me today. I'm going to flash the colors and the supplies that we're going to use on the screen, so if you're not totally prepared, you can go gather those. Okay, so today we are painting a knight creeping up on a monster. Now I always feel like it's helpful to know where we're headed before we start a painting, so here's the line art real quick of what we'll be doing. And yes, there is a big empty space where the monster should be, and that is because in this class, you finish the painting. You come up with the monster once I'm done showing you how to do the bulk of the painting, and then you're gonna come up with the monster. Okay, so let's begin. I have my piece of multimedia paper already taped onto a board. You might be working on a table, that's totally fine. And then I have my colors over here. The first thing that I wanna do is draw our base ground. And whenever you're looking at a scene, the horizon line is where the sky meets the ground. And this kind of just helps you get an understanding of where your objects are going to be in the picture. So let's start with that. Since this is going to be an outdoor portrait, I'm going to use a little bit of green. And we'll pull it out here. See how I'm just getting a dollop of green. And then I'm also going to take a little bit of red, actually, and we're going to mix it together. We don't have a ton of time to go through color theory, but basically green and red are opposites on the color wheel, which means that it helps them dull down a bit, and it just looks a little bit more realistic. Not so bright. And especially for a horizon line, we don't want it to be too bright because it's not a very important part of the piece. Okay, so that's kind of mixed up there, and we have a lot of paint too. So keep the paint thick. We have some water here, and just dampen your brush just a little bit, but don't get it sopping wet. If it is sopping wet, just go ahead and tap it off on your rag. Okay, so the horizon line, I'm just gonna put it about in the middle of the page. So here's the first stroke we're gonna do in this painting. And once we get started, there's no going back. So you can do a straight line. I'm gonna do a bit of a curved line, you see? Yeah, I like that. Okay, that's good for me. And now we're gonna do a little shadow, just to make sure we remember where our monster is gonna be, so we don't put anything in that space. So I'm gonna go a little bit lower down in the painting, and we're just gonna draw an oval, a flat oval, and fill that in. Okay, if you kind of mess up, just keep going around and around. Okay. All right, so that's where the monster is going to end up, but we're not going to paint it quite yet. It's just a placeholder for us to remember. So next, we need to do the environment. In any painting, it's a lot easier for you if you work from back to front as far as the environment, the trees, the sun, whatever's in the background, because you're going to be layering things on top of it. So I think that our monster is going to be hiding in the woods. So we'll do some trees. I'm going to add a little bit more green into our little mixture because I want to brighten it up just a touch. On that brush, and I'm going to choose where the trees are going to be. So this is the way that I really like to do trees, is by doing the green part first and then adding the trunk and the branches later. So let's start with our biggest tree, which the knight, I imagine, is going to be hiding behind this big tree. So the knight's going to be over here, and the tree that he's going to be hiding behind is going to be right here. So draw a shape like this, where you draw a flat bottom, and then an arch, and then another arch, and another. See how my strokes are getting a little streaky? That just means that I need a little bit more paint in those areas. Okay, let's add a little bit more paint on the brush. And then we'll add just a couple more arches. Okay, and you fill it in as you go. I like to make my edges real nice and crisp, but since these are trees, it doesn't really matter because trees have lots of leaves in them. Let's do another one. Okay, good job. So if that one was tricky for you, we're gonna do another one. Let's put one over here, and we'll make it's nice to have your trees be on different levels. So let's put one over here, kind of lower down, and maybe smaller as well. Getting a little faster this time. Just a big green shape, kind of like a cloud. These arches and a flat bottom. I like how that one turned out. Actually, I like that color a lot better. It's a lot more green. I kind of made a brown over here. And if you did that too, that's totally fine. Remember, we are just experimenting and having fun with it. Let's do another one here. We're going to be kind of doing it behind this tree over here. So think about it in terms of it's a different tree, but it's hiding behind this one. So we're not going to see the whole thing, but it's slipped behind this tree. And just keep filling it in. It might hit the horizon line, and that's okay. Okay. Let's see here. Do we want any more trees? Because our monster is going to be right here. Let's put some up there. And they're going to be a little smaller, so I'm going to use the edge of the brush. When you use this part of the brush, things are going to be obviously fatter. When you use the edge of the brush, it's going to be a little thinner and smaller. So let's try that. Maybe we can make skinnier too. Oh, this one's a little pointy. Kind of like that though. And we'll do a couple more. See, we're building a whole forest here. Let's fill in this spot. This one's going to be just a touch bigger. You don't want everything to be the same, right? Nothing is the same. There are no two trees that are the same. A biology lesson for you today. And let's put one just behind this tree. It'll make it it'll give the impression that there's more trees in there like a forest than there actually are. Okay, So that's enough. Okay, so we have our trees. At least they look like bushes right now. So let's give them some tree trunks. So we're going to wash our brush nice and good in some clean water. And then tap it dry on your towel. So I can see that these trees are still, oh, they're dry. Okay, so my trees are actually dry. I thought they were gonna be wet. If your trees are still wet, then go ahead and take a hairdryer, just any old hairdryer, and put it on low setting and then blast it for like 10 or 15 seconds. All right. Now for the tree trunks, I'm gonna use this smaller brush here. Load it up with a little bit of water, clean water. Tap it off a little bit because remember you don't want it to be soaking wet. And we'll take the brown. Okay, so now with all of these trees or bushes that we have, we're gonna add a tree trunk. And that's gonna be really easy. Just choose any of your trees. I'm gonna choose this one. Pick a point and just start painting downwards. Okay, so you see how the color kind of left my brush as I went down here? So that just means that I didn't have enough paint or I just need to go back over it. And what I like to do is start from the bottom and work my way back up. And I kind of have a messy line, but that's okay because we're going to just be going over this and we're actually going to make the tree trunk just a little thicker. And you see how I'm kind of making the tree go like out at the bottom? That just kind of gives the impression that it is growing out of the ground, which trees do. Okay, see? Nice tree trunk. So we're going to do that with the rest of our trees as well. And these ones can be a little bit smaller. I'm going to make them stop, the tree trunk stop at the horizon line because I think these trees are just little background trees. Another one. If you feel like you need a little bit more water just to make the paint last a little longer, that's another reason why the paint might not go as far as you want, but as you add water, it makes it more transparent as well. So that means that your colors underneath will be more likely to shine through your color that you're putting down. So there are pros and cons to that, to adding more water. It's gonna go farther than those trees in the background. And we're gonna spread out the bottom a little bit more too. Okay, fill in any spaces. Okay, so this tree, this final tree, I want it to have a big tree trunk because our knight will be hiding behind it. You can't hide behind a very small tree trunk. I'm actually going to switch over to a bigger brush then, because the small brush is just not cutting it. So let's bring in our 1-inch brush, load it with a little bit of brown paint, and see how there's so much more paint on this brush. I'm even going to use the flat side to make it thicker. Thick tree chunk. See? I think we even need to make it a little bit thicker, but I want to leave a lot of room here for my knight. And clean that brush off because we don't need the brown anymore on this brush, but we do need the brown back on our little round brush. So load some more brown paint onto that one. And now we're gonna do the branches. So take a tree, and you see those arches that we made? We're gonna draw a line all the way up there. We're gonna leave some space at the top. See how that kind of looks like a branch? So we're gonna add a couple more. And then off of those, we're gonna add another. Other little spikes. And that just kind of makes it look like the tree branches. So let's go around and do them all. You can put as many as you like. They don't all have to have the same number. They don't all have to have the same little twigs on the end. Forgot one. The bigger trees you'll probably add a little bit more because the closer things are to you, the more details that you see. But remember, this tree is behind the big one, so I'm not going to show everything. Okay, now our big tree. Okay, does that kind of look like a tree? Trees? I think so. I like that. Okay, let's clean off this brush. Okay, so now we have our trees, but what kind of day is it outside? I think that it's going to be a nice, bright, sunny day, and maybe our monster's taking a nap in the woods, and that's when our night creeps up on him. So let's add a nice, bright sun. So let's add a little bit of clean water to that 1-inch brush, and let's go into the yellow. And let's pick a place for our sun and make a big circle. I like it right here. So something that helps to make a circle is to keep one edge of your brush in the center of the circle and then turn the other edge of the brush around town. Okay, we're gonna take our small round brush again, and we're gonna do, see if we can do some triangles around the sun. The sun will have some rays of light, so you can either do those with lines. I like doing little triangles, it's just a little bit more fun to me. So when you're doing your rays of light, whether they're lines or triangles, it always helps to go and kind of look the top, the bottom, the side, and the other side. That way they're all evenly spaced apart. And then you can fill in the other triangles in between those other triangles. See how it's just evenly spacing it out? It's a little bit easier instead of just going top and around. Ta-da! It's a beautiful sun. Let's wash that paintbrush off. Now let's add some nice clouds. So let's take our 1-inch brush, take a little blue, and a little bit of white. Mix that together and make a nice light blue. So with the clouds, they're very similar to the trees that we did, kind of like the flat bottom with the arches, but it's going to be an even flatter bottom. So I'm going to do here, you see? Bigger arches, they're more like half circles. And a little tail for the cloud. I'll add a couple more. So if you didn't get it the first time, you can watch me do it a second time. And that one's going off the page. I'll make a nice little one right here. And maybe another one that's flying off the page. Nice thing about clouds, it doesn't have to be perfect. Yeah, I like that. Let's clean that off. Okay, so we have our environment, but we have no story yet. It's just some trees and clouds. Where's the story? So we need our character. We need our knight in shining armor, and he's going to be hiding behind this tree. Now, most people say that they have a really hard time drawing people, but they can draw stick figures. So let's just start with that. It's going to be really simple if we just start with the stick figure and then build off of that. And we're going to use that light blue color that we just mixed up. So let's draw our little stick figure. Let's start with the torso. So the body, just drawing a line, see? And then we'll do the shoulders, which is just going to be a horizontal line. His legs are going to be kind of bent, like he's crouched over, because if you have him just in a standing position, well, that's not very exciting. So those are his legs. And now his arm is going to be out. And there's his elbow. And his arm's out. And his other arm is behind the tree. But this arm is out because he's going to be holding a sword. So draw a line with that light blue all the way down. It's a sword. You know what? Let's make the shape of the sword too. Which is kind of like a diamond shape, big diamond shape. The next thing that we'll do is add his head. So we'll do a flesh tone, and to do flesh tone, it's mostly white. So do a little bit of white and then just a touch of yellow and a touch of red. And mix that together. Whoop, too much red. And more white. That's good enough for me. And we're gonna add just a nice little stripe down. Yeah, okay. He is. And his hand will be holding the sword, so add a little hand right here. Cute. So now let's give him some clothes because he's just a stick figure right now. So I'm going to take yellow. Okay, so for his tunic, we're going to take to his shoulders and go all the way down to his waist and draw lines. And then we're filling in the tunic right on top. And underneath his head. And then with the tunic, there's a little bit of a skirt part that comes down across his legs. So all in all, you're kind of making a little hourglass with this tunic. And you see how, okay, so this sometimes happens with acrylic where you can see the color underneath shine through. That's okay, that just means that we need to layer up on the yellow. See how we can just kind of cover that if we add another layer? Awesome. And knights also wear little feather plumes in their helmets, so I'm gonna add one. He's not wearing his helmet yet, but we're thinking in layers, so I'm going to put his helmet on top. And with his feather, it's just gonna be a little macaroni shape. Just like that. Okay, we're moving on to a different color. Dark blue. So after you clean off the yellow, go ahead and move on to just the regular blue. Not the one that we mixed. And we're gonna do some little details. So a knee pad here, and they're just little circles. They're little dots that I'm adding. And then his elbow, and maybe he's wearing a gauntlet, so fill that in. Add little circles to his shoulders for some shoulder armor pieces. Oh, and see, they mix with my yellow, so it's turning green, but that's okay. Sometimes that happens. And you just kind of roll with it. And I'm gonna give him some shoes. Cool. And the hilt of his sword. So the part that kind of guards his hand as he's fighting. Okay, he still doesn't have a helmet, so let's go ahead and paint him a helmet. Take that dark blue and just draw a line around his head and kind of like a box. Okay, see, we're having the same problem again with the layering. I'm gonna add some of that light blue that we mixed earlier. See, it's kind of like a hat. And there's the visor part on his forehead. Okay. No, he has no face. So let's add a couple details. Really dry off that brush because water is gonna not help you right now. So get some brown. And I'm gonna add just these tiny little eyes and maybe some eyebrows too, because he's determined to find this guy, this monster. Okay, he's really tiny, so you can't get too much detail. I'm gonna give him a little mustache and a mouth and a belt. Okay, so you kind of get the general idea of the guy. He's a little bit feisty. And we have this big dragon or monster right here. Let's just add a little shadow below him as well. This guy is little. So that's about where I'm going to stop today. I know it doesn't feel completely finished, but that's because we're missing something really big here, which is your monster that you're going to come up with. So my biggest tip right now is to just choose one color that you like, maybe a red because we don't have red in here at all, and just work with the shapes. Remember, that's all we've done with this whole painting is just draw shapes, and then you add the details later. Think about the eyes, the teeth, the horns, the claws, whatever you might want to have in your monster, and put it right here. You can also add a couple more details like flowers and bushes and birds and more trees if you want. Really make this painting your own, but this is where I'm going to stop today. So be sure to finish your paintings and send pictures of them to mattiekarrcreative@gmail.com so that I can feature them in next week's episode. So don't forget to follow me on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. I'll be posting a ton of information there regarding future classes, painting techniques, other things that you can do. I'll post your photos as well that you send me. And then finally, if there's anything that you want to learn how to paint or anything that you struggle with painting, let me know and I will address those in future videos. Okay, so now I'll just put on some music, get to work on finishing this painting, and I can't wait to see what you guys come up with. See you next Monday.